Welcome back, this is Mr. Marshall for Truganina College, Year 9 Maths. Today we are looking at data representation, Lesson 9, and it is histograms. Now our learning intention is we are learning about histograms, and I will be successful when I can construct a histogram, interpret information on histogram, and identify the similarities and differences between data displays. So here I have two data representations. Notice what's similar about them, notice what's different. So the one on the left is a histogram, and the one on the right is a column graph. Now histograms are like column graphs, but there's no gaps between the columns. That's because the data that we're measuring is continuous. To make a histogram, we first need to look at a frequency table. And when we draw up the histogram, like all graphs, the histograms need to include a title, labeled axis, so we label it for the y-axis, the vertical axis, which is usually frequency. We put spacing so that it is equal. We don't change it for each part. It is always the same amount between each unit. And all columns are the same width. We don't have any gaps between columns, and the columns go on top of the scores on the x-axis. And at the start and end of each histogram, we have a little gap so that it doesn't quite touch the axis, the y-axis. So here is 40 people surveyed for the number of hours they spent watching television. Now we can see this is continuous data because we've got decimal numbers here. So first off, we're going to organize the data, and we're going to use 5 intervals, and we're jumping up in values of 5. So we have from 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25, and 25 to 30. And we've got our midpoints here, which is halfway between 5 and 10, halfway between 10 and 15, and we've got the frequency. Now this is very important that we've got the less than sign here. This is saying it's from 5 up to, but not including the 10. So this value here, this 10 hours exactly, actually falls into this second category, not this first one. So as I said, the midpoint is halfway between the 5 and the 10, or the 10 and the 15, between each interval. And a way of calculating it is we just add up the lower and upper bounds of the intervals and divide by 2, just to work out the midpoint. So let's go through our steps. We've got rule and axis, make a title, label the axis, label the y-axis, mark the intervals on, mark the middle points, and then do the heights of the column. So one way of doing it is like this. So we have our frequency running up the left hand side. This is a histogram of hours of TV watched. We have our midpoints across here. Now we could go 5 to 10 and so on, but the midpoints just make it a little bit neater because we don't have as many numbers appearing down the bottom. And we've got the number of hours watched, and we can see here's our columns, and they're all together. There's no gaps in between. We've just outlined them to make it easy to see. And that's our histogram. Now our exercises for today are from 14.4 in our Maths Quest book. Practice level students will be doing these questions. Consolidating level students will be doing these questions. And master level students will be doing these questions. Now our review for today is list the similarities and differences between histograms and column charts. We discussed this a little bit, but you might be able to find some more. And why shouldn't categorical data, that's data which has named values like colors of eyes, be represented as a histogram. I want you to think why it's important that it's continuous numerical data and not categorical data.